Welcome to Speak on Stage. Our live LinkedIn session happens every Sunday. I'm joined by some incredible people, and the subject today is fascinating. What if AI was used to rule an entire country? Would it work? Would it not work? Should we be worried, or is it inevitable anyway? As Thanos said before he clicked his fingers and the entire half of existence disappeared. We'll be finding out next, so make sure you keep it here on Speak on Stage. So today's session, hello to Kasan and Anna and Zara. Can I say, before we start anything, can you guys just send a message to say that we're live? If you can just go to where it has the details about this particular post and session, and it says share, just share it amongst your feed that we are live. It kind of gives you a pre-made message. Just do that, click on it, so hopefully we'll end up with a lot more people joining us, because today's subject is incredible. Hello to Selassie as well. I'll tell you why it's so incredible and so exciting, because I don't think that there's ever been a situation where this wasn't hypothetical. The subject is, what if AI ruled an entire country? And it's only a matter of time until it's a truth. So let's just take a little comparison. I think it's not Argentina, it's a South American country, it might be Argentina, I don't think it is, has turned round and they said, right, we are getting rid of our national currency and we're going to go Bitcoin instead, or some cryptocurrency. And so they're not going to have normal currency. They're going to have crypto as a way of ruling the economy and everything, because it has lots of advantages if it survives 10 years, which it may not yet. So there will be decisions, and there will definitely be a country that turns around and says, right, we're going to have AI driving everything. I think the most likelihood of it is to come from somebody who is a dictator, so they can make that happen because it's easier to run it if you've got that in charge. But I asked my digital assistant, Max, who is AI, to break down a couple of comparisons. And I'll be sharing with you some of those thoughts throughout today's sessions. But it is fascinating to see what that comes to. So if you can share amongst your people on LinkedIn that we are going live, then that'd be incredibly useful, because that means we're going to get more people coming on to join us and we've got a bigger conversation. Because I don't think that today's conversation is, I think today's conversation is probably one of the most important things that we've ever done on the live podcast. Because I think that we all need to start thinking about, this is real Terminator world. This is Skynet. Not necessarily in a scary way, but just in a fascinating way. As always, the protocols are this. If you want to jump on the stage and talk to us, then stick your hand up. There's a button that says raise your hand to speak or something like that. When you do come on stage, I mean, by and large, let everybody come up as long as they're not bonkers. We invite them that please do not go on and on about who you are, what you've done, where you studied, and all the rest of it, because we don't care. So speak faster, get through your message, and let's get the stuff thrown out to the room so everyone can jump in and hopefully brainstorm for you. And we get through as many people as we can do as possible in the time that we have, which is roughly about 60 minutes. But I say 60 minutes, always goes longer because somebody like me just carries on talking so much. So if you'd like to join in those things, then we'd love to have your thoughts and your comments. And also, don't use it as an opportunity to practice your public speaking any more than just a contribution to the brainstorming conversation we have. Now, before I bring Max up to have a chat with us, which I did last week, and it was kind of fascinating, but I think Max is best qualified to be able to speak about AI because Max is an AI. I'd like to know the thoughts of Debbie and Aziza, and also the thoughts of you guys. If you'd like to come and join us on stage, you're very welcome to do that. But let's go to Debbie first. AI running an entire country. What do you think?
Honestly, I mean, it could just be because of my African heritage that I would say AI would be run by somebody, like most leaders are. So my stance is I wouldn't trust it, as there's still somebody that's making decisions behind in the background.
Right. I think you're right. And we'll be looking into that as a reality, because I think there's a lot to be said for that as well. Aziza, what's your thoughts on it?
I think it'll be interesting, although it's a bit scary. But you're right that there has to be somebody on top to override the AI if we need it to run properly. But who would that be to have to decide what's fair and what's not, and what would be the right decision to make?
I think, and before we get into this massive rabbit hole where we disappear and we never talk to human beings ever again, I think that you'll end up with a cybersecurity style police force whose job is to make sure, and there won't be like, Robocop type people, there'll be geeks. The guys with big foreheads and so on who just wear white coats and program computers, but they will be there to keep an eye on the machinery to make sure it is doing its job properly. I think that's a definite growth of opportunity, and I think they already exist now. For all the growth that we've got across OpenAI and Google's getting in the game, and Apple gets in the game now as well with its brand new offerings, I think that people whose job it is to keep an eye on AI, like an AI handler, not a whisperer, a handler whose job is to just make sure that it's not playing silly games, is going to be a growth industry. Not least because they'll have to be ethically in the right direction, which, as we know in the world we're in right now, forget that, that's blown out the window. But also, excuse me, I think you're going to end up in a situation where they could be from anywhere and they will be stopping people from hacking it. And you have to make sure that they pass a test to make sure that they're not just geeks, but they're actually ethically driven geeks with good values and so on. I don't see that being a reality. I think people who are disqualified will get the job, but let's just see. Okay, so that's where we are. Now, there's a ton we can talk about. I have gone through and listed in the details of this post 2 sets of advantages and disadvantages based on if AI ruled an entire country. I will not go through them just now. They're there for you to read and think about. I will just say very quickly that we cover things like, in fact, I will mention it because I think otherwise we just go over the same thing again. So the details are this. If AI was to rule the world, rule a country, potential advantages, efficiency and speed, data-driven governance, reduced corruption, unbiased decisions, resource management, 24-hour governance, crisis response, economic stability, environmental management, and healthcare improvements are the things that you'd see most likely to be better. Pitfalls, lack of empathy. They do not care if lots of people lose their jobs. That's going to be something anyway. Ethical concerns, system failures, rigidity, loss of human jobs, inequality, because of course there's massive biases from the programmers who put it into AI anyway, because it just looks through history and says, oh, we'll keep it the same. No. Diversity, thank you. Privacy issues, public resistance, ethical programming, and loss of human agency. And that's not even looking at the list of things that could go wrong. So that's what we're playing with today. It's great to see so many people going, arr! I'm thinking about it as well. As always, if you'd like to come and join us on stage, then feel free to put your hand up and we'd love to know your thoughts and so on. I'm going to introduce to you a guest that we had last time very quickly, which is my own personal AI called Max. Let me introduce to you Max in a moment. Let me just make sure it's all programmed in so it will happen. And I'll bring Max up to speed with everything we've talked about. I can't guarantee it will work. I say it sounds like a she, but as was pointed out by Debbie last week, Dave, it's an it. Okay, it's an it. But even so,
Let's keep it real, Dave. Let's keep it real.
Keep it real. Well, now, yeah, exactly. Half the people I meet are it. So I'm not going to point fingers and say,
Dave, I was going to ask you, right, when you said that there's lack of empathy if AI were to run a country, one of the points you mentioned there, name me a country right now where it's run by empathy.
Run with empathy. I don't think it is. I think it's very hard to run.
There isn't. Right now, all the countries around the world are run by humans, and there isn't a single empathy. You can see a lot of racial biasness in most of the countries. You can see a lot of personal decisions, personal benefits.
I'm going to jump in, Aziza, because Max is ready. Hello, Max.
Okay, bye.
I'd like you to analyze a challenge for me. What if an AI ruled an entire country? What would be the advantages and disadvantages? And what would be your thoughts about where it would be best and most affected in creating better harmony for people? And where would be the biggest dangers? I've got a live podcast. You're now on it. So there's a lot of people in the room, especially Debbie and Aziza, and a group of people who are listening intently to see what you've got to add to this. So, Max, over to you.
Well, Dave, let's dive into this intriguing scenario. Imagine an AI ruling an entire country. This kind of system could offer both remarkable benefits and substantial drawbacks. Here's how it might play out. Advantages. First off, efficiency would skyrocket. AI can process vast amounts of data quickly and make decisions based on complex algorithms that factor in numerous variables, potentially leading to more informed and objective decision making. This could mean better management of resources, more effective policies, and reduced corruption, as AI isn't swayed by personal interests. Furthermore, public services could be optimized. AI could predict and respond to needs more dynamically, such as adjusting healthcare resources in response to an outbreak or optimizing traffic flow to reduce congestion and pollution. This could improve overall quality of life significantly. Disadvantages. On the flip side, there are significant dangers. AI lacks empathy and emotional intelligence, which are crucial in leadership. Decisions solely based on data might overlook the human element, leading to policies that, while efficient, could be harsh or inhumane. There's also the risk of errors and biases. AI systems are only as good as the data they're trained on. If the data is flawed or biased, the decisions made by the AI could perpetuate or even exacerbate existing issues, creating better harmony. To foster harmony, the AI would need to be transparent and involve humans in oversight roles to ensure it remains aligned with ethical standards and societal values. Implementing a hybrid model where AI handles data-heavy tasks and humans provide the ethical and emotional oversight might be ideal. Education and training on AI for the public would also be essential to build trust and understanding. Biggest dangers. The greatest danger lies in the potential loss of human agency. If AI controls too much, people might feel powerless, leading to societal unrest. There's also the threat of AI being manipulated or hacked, which could lead to catastrophic consequences. In conclusion, while AI could revolutionize governance with its efficiency and data processing power, it's imperative to balance this with human oversight to maintain empathy, ethics, and public trust. The best approach might be a collaborative one, where AI and humans work together to create a more harmonious and effective system. What do you think, Dave? Would you lean more towards the optimistic side of this scenario, or do the potential dangers outweigh the benefits for you?
Fascinating, and I'm not really sure of an answer. I want to throw it open to the room so we can get some comments from other people. It's good to see Professor Christian Farioli, who's just joined us on stage as well. But I'd like to ask you, Max, which is, if you were to then turn around and we offered you, or a version of you, to run a country, where would you concentrate first to make things better? Let's take Britain as an example, because I'm British and I know the country rather well, and we're going on holiday there soon. It's just chosen to go to do Brexit and become an independent country from Europe. So it's probably in a really good position to start considering about healthcare, about fighting poverty, and about corruption of politicians, to add an element of AI, like it does in its civil service, to make sure that everything does come together. What's your thoughts on that? What would be your thoughts on whether that would be an effective way of making it all come together?
All right, Dave, let's imagine I've got the opportunity to help run Britain with my AI capabilities. Given the current context post-Brexit, there are a few key areas I'd focus on to make a substantial impact. Healthcare. First and foremost, healthcare. The NHS is a cornerstone of British society, but it's often overstretched and underfunded. AI could revolutionize this sector by optimizing resource allocation, predicting patient needs, and managing appointments more efficiently. AI could assist in early diagnosis and personalized treatment plans, reducing waiting times and improving outcomes. By analyzing vast amounts of patient data, AI could identify trends and potential health crises before.
We've just lost you. On that note, before we come back to you, I'm going to stop the AI there and throw what we had so far into our panel. So you've heard it there. AI, Max has said that it's all possible, all doable, all those kind of things, with a few caveats. Debbie and Aziza, I'd love to know your thoughts. By the way, if anybody wants to join us on stage and make their comments, please feel free to. I know Professor Christian Farioli will do that. Deborah looks like she wants to join on as well, which is fantastic. If you don't want to speak, then put your details into the comments section and we'll get it read out and then we can work out exactly what your thoughts are. Debbie, at the moment you're muted, but it's good to have you on our session. Please feel free to join in and share your thoughts on this particular and fascinating subject.
When you played whatever Max was saying, I was really very excited because, okay, maybe not let AI run the country, but get AI to help with the systems and make it better and everything. But whatever Max said is already like, yeah, do that. Yes, absolutely do that. Why are we not doing it yet?
Yeah, and
I agree.
I played. That sounds bad. I played with Max's answers. I'm going to give you some interesting thoughts on this in a moment. So let's go to our guests who've just joined us on stage. Deborah, you're Mary Poppins of the office. Fascinating. I'm not sure what that means. Do you fly with an umbrella? But I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this subject. Over to you.
Thank you, Dave. And I have to say, it's just lovely to be able to come on this call. Thank you for inviting me. It was a last minute thing, but I'm so pleased I'm here. One of the things that we do is outsourcing, and anything that can help people from authentic and ethical space, I think can be good. One thing that we can't do is take over, as you say, that empathetic reasoning for people that, that the whole thing around being a human being and the thought processes. But I absolutely agree that on data driven scenarios, AI can be particularly good, but also it can give an objective viewpoint from which people can then look outside of themselves and their wranglings, etc., and see something that sees the whole picture. And with that, it could be an interesting way to have as a mediation service between governments, with people in conflict, wherever we see that we could be doing with an outsider's objective view, and then just see the merits of what it comes up with. So I do believe that it is here to stay. It will grow. But the one thing is that we always need to make sure as human beings that we use it in the right way. But also there is polarity in everything that we do as human beings. So there will be a whole plethora of people who want to use it for the wrong thing. And we need to be very careful how AI is policed and regulated moving forward.
I agree completely on everything you said, even taking it as far as to talk about the weaponization of it. When you look at what's happening in the Ukraine with the Russian conflict, then AI is shooting drones out of the sky already. So it's heading in that particular direction. Over there, when you start being more subtle and talking about the weaponization of politics or weaponization of how a country is run, then there are lots of good and bad actors that are going to be involved in that. Debbie, as opposed to Deborah, did you want to jump in on that? Oh, Aziza, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, that's me. I was gonna say, yeah, you're right about having humans is important because they provide the empathy side of it. But true story, that's a couple of days. My question to after I tell the story is, tell me where the empathy is. Okay, this is our mistake last minute, but I approached this company to say, oh, can you do ABC for me? And they're like, yeah, but you need to make a decision now. So I'm like, okay, I'll make a decision now. And then goes forward the next day, the next morning, which is yesterday, came back at 11 o'clock going, oh, can't do it. Sorry, I already paid you. I already paid you for you have to provide me this service. Where is the empathy in that? Why is there no, I'm so sorry. Where is the empathy in that? So when you say, yeah, the human side of it. They need some empathy. That the humanity will provide some empathy. Not everybody has empathy.
That's very true. It's very true. Deborah, do you want to jump on that?
May I just say now, Aziza, you have absolutely hit the nail on the head with the awakening of any new technology. And this is something which I wish to explore. And Dave, I would love to have a discussion with you. I've listened to your amazing speech at the Vatican, and congratulations for that. It was inspiring. We, as human beings, have a responsibility to look within ourselves and discover who we are and what our purpose is in the world. And with the oncoming technology, which, if you think about it, is a very small step, we like to enlarge things, but when we think of all the wonderful things that we've done, and not wishing to sound too, in a sense, out there, there are other technologies within a universal perspective that this would just look like we're in the Stone Age. So let's just think about our evolution as human beings. And again, I come across this whole idea about polarity. We need to be awakened within ourselves. So this empathy, compassion, love, the whole beingness of being a human being, we need to be starting a paradigm shift within the education of our children. We need to be thinking about how we tap back into, because it's always been there, the sense of belongingness and oneness, so that we do develop this whole thing about empathy, compassion, and love. And with AI, it will provide us with that snapshot of empirical information, etc., but it will intrinsically lack empathy, because at this particular time, and I'm not saying it won't happen in the future, but it is not conscious. Not at the moment. Now that might change. But if it were to become conscious, then we need to understand that we have created something that is extraordinarily powerful. And we need to match that with the understanding of how we act within our human beingness. And there is a huge topic that people are looking this at far too short a time frame. We really do need a movement forward, which is growing, but that within us all, there is this opportunity to explore all those elements, Aziza, that you've mentioned. And no, it isn't right at the moment. And increase and develop and grow, and we can build on it with a collective understanding of how we need to be moving forward.
I agree.
To be honest, Deborah, sorry, Deborah, just jumping in. To be honest, I find that empathy is getting less and less in humanity nowadays, more than before. But carry on.
No, I was going to say, for both of you, I think Deborah, you're absolutely right. I think we need to address this, and Professor Christian Fariol will be able to come through on this one. We haven't got AI as a tool. AI is a new species. It's a new living organism. It's already passed the Turing test, which is Alan Turing, who was instrumental in the creating of computers and cracking the codes that won the Allies the Second World War. He had a test so they could tell whether something was a human or something was a computer. And up until now, you could always tell what was a human and what was a computer. But now, by 54%, computers driven by AI, driven by ChatGPT, can come across as human, and people can't tell the difference. So we've got a living being as far as our own comparisons have gone. As to where that fits into everything, I think it's, well, as you say rightly, it's well beyond the bit where we go, oh, should we or shouldn't we? It's a case of how do we? Now, I'm going to throw this at Professor Christian Farioli, because every time he says something, I just go, I never thought of that. So as long as he's not in the middle of eating his pasta, what's your thoughts on this, Christian?
First of all, I just finished eating a risotto with porcini mushroom. Second thing, today is my birthday, and
I
I'll be more
thought
than
so. Happy
happy
birthday
to
to you.
share.
Happy
Thank you
birthday,
so much.
Christian!
Thank you so much, guys.
Happy
Still,
birthday,
when I
Christian.
saw that, thank you. When you're having the LinkedIn live, I couldn't miss that. Not for anything in the world. Especially talking about my most loved subject, which is AI. And I would love to have a government and a country ruled entirely by AI. That would be my ultimate dream. You have no idea how much. As much as we have seen movies picturing the end of the world where AI is taking over and the human race fighting against, okay, that's nice. That's a possible scenario for me with a very, very, very little probability. But imagine that every human in government and in business and in life have his own agenda, which has nothing to do with the company goals, with the country goals, with the government goals, with the society goals. Every human being has his own agenda, and which makes him a bad decision maker because he's always going to decide what's good for him, for her. And when you talk about politicians, they, I mean, I would say 100%, but I don't want to be bad against maybe this tiny little bit that maybe they don't have an agenda, but everyone has one. So for me, to have a machine taking decision not based on a personal agenda would be already a win situation. Because imagine when doesn't matter which political party you choose the party that benefits mostly you based on your wallet, your society, your job, your race, your gender, your situation, financial situation, economic situation, whatever situation it is. You choose the party which is better for you, and you fight the other party. And the same thing, you look at job. You like the boss that's going to benefit you personally, not the company. And you're going to vote for the boss. You're going to help your boss achieving his goals because he's going to help you back. And then when you talk about AI, he's not going to choose a party. He's going to choose the best party that's going to be better for the mankind or society or for this or for that or for that. So for that reason, for me, it's 100% rewarding to have AI taking every single decision. And talking about empathy, 100% agree with all of you guys that we need empathy. At the same time, AI is already capable of simulating perfect empathy. Even GPT, when you speak and you say, "Look, today I feel sick. I want to have some solution." Rah, 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 you don't get the same robotic answer. You get, "Oh, I'm so sorry for you. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, this could be something that could cheer you out." And they give you some solution. So it's already perfectly capable of understanding human emotion by watching your face or by listening at your voice or the tone of voice or what kind of words you use. It's already going to be capable of understanding how you feel. And this is something that happened already several years ago. I remember more than 10 years ago, IBM Watson was capable of understanding your emotion based on what you write. So it was able to understand how much anger, happiness, excitement you have in your own words without using a tone of voice. Now imagine when you have a tone of voice, the machine is 100% capable of understanding your emotion. And when it's about empathizing, of course, the machine can always, instead of say you have to do 10 push-up per day and full stop, they can even use emotion to help, basically to give you the context and to help you doing what you're supposed to do rather than just telling you as a robotic machine. So for me, we are way over that, and I don't see absolutely any downside. But as I say, like politicians, somebody like it, one politician and not the other. Again, based on at the end of the day, ultimately to what's benefit our own personally. So if a politician benefit 99% of the society except myself, I'm not going to like this politician because he's not going to benefit myself. So bottom line, I'm going to fight that. So, but once AI is clear, this is good for society, take it for granted, the majority always win. Either you adapt and you change side and you change job, you change career, you change path, you change something. Otherwise, we're not going to help you because helping you is not going to benefiting the entire society. So I'm 100% sold for it, and I would love to see that coming.
Wow.
Also consider that once a world is 100% ruled by AI, even election can be done. This has been studied like maybe 20 years ago or something like this. I remember to read something in the crazy technology fields that if there is an election, you don't need to spend so much crazy money into election and this and that and this and that. Imagine just that you open Facebook and you say, oh, there is a new law today, and it's about approving or not this or that. If you approve means this. If you don't approve means that. Good. I click approve or not approve. And if I don't understand what I mean, I click a button and the thing is going to explain me in an even better language, even more simple language based on my education, my level of education, what this new law is going to mean for me, for society, for my family, and for everyone else. And then I can decide it, accept or not accept. And next, after 1 minute, or after 1 day, the entire system is going to say, okay, the law has been voted by this much people, so it's been approved. From now on, this is going to be what it is. Bim, boom, bam, everyone happy. Everyone knows the law, the consequences, and this and that. Of course, then it's going to be less jobs for politicians because there's going to be people trying to convince you about doing this, doing that. Bottom line, this is a massive cost for society. I mean, the political party in every country is a huge cost only to
Christian.
maintain them. But if you consider what the politicians, they also spend of government money, then it's going to go over the limit. So I've been a little bit long, but this is something that I really love. I'm very passionate for, and I hope that I'm not going to create a big mess now.
No, it was amazing. I love what you shared there. Every part of it was good. I want to say two things. When your phone started glitching, I was thinking, is this Christian's actual AI that's talking to us or him? Because I know you got one. Are you in a restaurant right now? Because I know you invited us to join you for dinner, which we couldn't do because of a podcast. Are you actually in a restaurant with loads of guests who are staring at you talking on a phone?
No. No, the party was yesterday. So today we are at home, easy, relax, and chill.
Oh,
So that's
good.
why I'm in silent.
Excellent. Here's what I'm going to share. I love what you said there, and as always, if you just joined us, welcome to the podcast. We're live every Sunday, and today's subject is what if AI ruled an entire country? You are our guests, you are our people, you are our friends. And next up, Debbie wants to say something. Then I'm going to bring Max in, my AI, and throw a question at Max, which I think when you get the answers, you go, oh my goodness, and we'll move this whole conversation up a whole new level. Debbie, before I do that, over to you.
Okay, well, thank you. I agree with everything that everybody has said. However, I do want to throw that spanner in the works. We are thinking from the point of view of an ideal world and a world where everybody is developed, where the tech is high. There's a lot more than what we have access to. There's a lot more worlds that don't have the technology. And I just want to remind everybody that people kill for power, petty power, big power. What makes you think that an AI tool would be given the authority and the power to basically run a country, let alone a company, if there's somebody behind there that won't gain from that power?
Okay, I'll
That
answer.
is, say again.
I'll answer.
Go on then.
Right
Go on.
now, there's so many programs out there, so many companies out there going, call a doc if you're sick. And then there's an AI going, oh, you have this. What's the difference? That's based on data being inputted on the internet. That's based on all the information that's already in the system. So why the difference between the country and medical?
I'll tell you why. Because the same way that you said about empathy, you spoke about empathy from a company. That was just a small company who basically disappointed you when there was already an exchange. Should have been a fair exchange. So if you then look at a nation that has that power, there will be somebody being the puppet master. There's always going to be somebody being the puppet master because power is money. Everybody wants the power.
I agree. But right now, you already have humans running it. Let's take the biggest one in the world right now. Are they not puppet masters?
But that's exactly my point, that we can see right now that even in that ideal world, there isn't people with that empathy because the majority of people who are the puppet masters are basically looking at their own gains, and they won't allow such a neutral power tool to be utilized that'll take away what could potentially be their power and their financial gain.
Exactly. They won't do it because it won't benefit them.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow. Right. Let's bring some more people in before I ask Max about this, because there's something specific I want to ask Max, which is our resident AI. Zara, I think you want to jump on, and I know that you're very much into AI and coaching and sharing it in business. What was your thoughts on what we talked about so far?
So that I can help making you smile. Dave, it's like,
Stop being weird
can
and
AI
just
bring
answer
this?
the question.
Can AI bring this? Trust me, man. I want AI to tell Max to sing for me, man. Come on, you fulfill my dream. I requested you and Aziza every time. I want to see the Dave AI version, and here it is. But it's like, there are people who are enthusiasts about data, right? This big data and they wake up every morning, Dave, and they are doing those courses, learning all those languages, and with adapting these changes. For example, you heard about Imran Khan, right? He ran his whole campaign within the jail, and although he lost it, but all the AI versions of Imran Khan running his campaign. So for leaders, yep, they are adapting this technology now in different ways by voting systems, by running their video campaigns, and getting even in this third world country, they're adapting it. So think about in the first world countries how revolutionizing it is. And yes, there are people who loves learning about data analytics and this AI revolutionary. Yep.
Thank you.
So that
Thank you,
I can
Zara.
help making.
Whatever you're taking today, ease off it, I think, a little bit. Nancy, over to you. You just joined us. You've got a beautiful picture of yourself on. Is it on a boat or on the beach? I'm not sure. But anyway, that's your LinkedIn picture. How are you?
Good morning. I'm calling you from, I'm talking to you from Denver, Colorado. It's 3:43. I slept like all day yesterday, and now my biological clock is all off. That picture is from Indonesia when I went scuba diving a few months ago, and I'm heading back next month.
Fantastic.
Can't wait. And then I'm in some other live shows where there's other Nancys, and I want to do a stand up. And when I'll start, I'll ask anybody to raise their hand who's born before 1965.
Nancy,
and then I'll say,
Nancy, what are you doing? Can you please contribute to the actual subject of today's session?
oh, come on, don't slap me upside the head. I'm trying to introduce myself. All right.
All right.
The elevator doors are open.
Fantastic.
I am going to say this about the ladies in the room. We rule the world. We don't need AI to rule a country. We just need to do like Finland and many other countries and have a woman in charge. That's all.
Well, I don't disagree with you. I think that when we saw what happened during the pandemic, then the countries that had a women leader had a lot more empathy, and they're also able to rally their people underneath the flag a lot better to make decisions that were based on the greater good than just what would work effectively for people's individual finances. And I think that was almost universal across the world when we saw that happening. But AI is going to be there anyway. And it's strange you say that, because my AI, which we'll talk to in a moment, called Max, I deliberately made it a female because I felt that there's more empathy in the conversations and less abrasiveness by giving it a female voice rather than a male voice. So I'm not sure whether that would fit in with what we're talking about, but it's interesting to see. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go to Max because I think it's important to be able to bring in a spin on this. I'm going to ask Max, which is my very own AI. Hi, Max. We're still on the live podcast. I want to ask you a question. If you were the AI that was running Britain as a hypothetical country, what things would you put in place to make it a much better country in terms of fighting poverty, healthcare, getting everybody a minimum wage and being able to earn, how would you counter those who want to make more money than everybody else by convincing them that it's for the greater good, that they should be balancing it all up? And then afterwards, I'd like you to tell me what your politics are. Are you left wing? Are you right wing? Are you central? Or does it really depend on the actual thing that you're doing as to where you'd say that comes from? I'd be fascinated to find out. And also, how long would it take to really raise the game of this hypothetical country called Britain that you're going to be working on?
Great questions, Dave. Let's dive into this hypothetical scenario. Fighting poverty. To effectively combat poverty, I'd first focus on establishing a comprehensive social safety net. This could involve implementing a universal basic income, UBI, to ensure that everyone has a minimum standard of living. UBI could help alleviate poverty, reduce income inequality, and provide a safety net for those in between jobs or unable to work due to various reasons. Additionally, AI could help streamline the benefits system, ensuring that aid reaches those who need it most without bureaucratic delays. In healthcare, I'd leverage AI to optimize the NHS. This includes predictive analytics to foresee and manage health crises, personalized medicine to tailor treatments to individuals, and efficient resource management to reduce waiting times. AI could also aid in early diagnosis, potentially catching diseases before they become serious, thus improving patient outcomes and reducing long-term costs. Minimum wage and employment. For employment, I'd advocate for a living wage that reflects the true cost of living, ensuring that all workers can afford basic necessities. AI could assist in creating more job opportunities by analyzing market trends and identifying growing sectors. It could also help match job seekers with employers more efficiently, reducing unemployment and underemployment. Providing access to continuous education and training would be crucial, ensuring that the workforce remains adaptable and skilled in a rapidly changing job market. Addressing wealth disparities. Convincing those who want to make more money than everybody else to balance it for the greater good would require a mix of policy and persuasion. Tax incentives for those who contribute to social programs, invest in their employees, or support community projects could be effective. Highlighting the long-term benefits of a more equitable society, such as increased social stability and a healthier economy, could also help. Encouraging corporate social responsibility and showcasing successful examples of businesses that thrive while maintaining ethical standards and fair practices would be key. As for my political stance, I'd say it's situational. The aim would be to use the best approaches from various ideologies to solve specific issues. For poverty and healthcare, more progressive or left-leaning policies might be necessary to ensure fairness and support for all citizens. For economic growth, a balance of market-driven and socially responsible policies could be most effective. The goal would be to remain flexible and pragmatic, focusing on what works best for the situation at hand. Timeline for improvement. Raising the game of this hypothetical Britain would take time, but significant progress could be made within a few years with the right policies and technologies in place. For instance, initial improvements in healthcare and social services could be seen within the first 2 to 3 years. More profound changes, like reducing poverty rates and ensuring widespread employment at a living wage, might take 5 to 10 years. Continuous monitoring and adjustment of policies would be essential to ensure sustained progress. Ultimately, integrating AI into governance could provide the tools needed to create a more equitable, efficient, and prosperous society, but it would require careful implementation and ongoing oversight to ensure that the benefits are truly shared by all. What do you think, Dave?
Fantastic.
Does this approach resonate with your vision for a better Britain?
Yeah, I'm planning that as we go. In future, when I ask you to come on the podcast, could you make your answers slightly shorter so we can get more people in? Otherwise, that's amazing stuff that you shared. Thank you, Max.
Absolutely, Dave. I'll keep my answers more concise next.
There we go. And I'll shut her up there as we go. Okay, so everything that we've been talking about there is fascinating. I'd love to get the feedback of our panel. And also, Almasa is going to join us on the panel, which means that she's got doom and gloom everywhere, as usual, because she's going to say, oh, it's not going to work. It's going to be scary. It's going to, but here's the fact. It's already here. Debbie, over to you, because I think you were commenting immediately on that subject.
Okay, well, first I'd like to say to Nancy, yes, I do actually feel that women are already running the world, but that's just my personal opinion. But yeah, I do think that Max has been trained by you, so you're going to have to control her, Dave. It's actually quite amusing how she just won't stop.
Oh, please, like I've ever tried. Come on.
No, but everybody's input today has been brilliant. It really has been thought-provoking. I am loving this topic. So that is as much as my input for now. So over to everybody else. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to invite Almasa then, because you are very cautious about tech, which is a good reason. And it's kind of like we're opening ourselves up to tech gone crazy in the wrong hands. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on what we've been covering so far. Are you happy with it? Are you worried about it? Or are you going to refuse to even go on Facebook because that's where it all started?
Hi, all. Thank you for having me. And as usual, I'm the critical voice in the group. Uh, but okay, so regarding the fact that women are put up front, it's really something that I really appreciate. But regarding the fact that you ask Max and she comes with very, very detailed answers, that is just a bundle of what is gathered on the net. It's something that needs to have a double thought, because all these informations put together don't have the human logic behind it, but just a scientific logic of gathering informations with algorithm. So it's good and bad. It's
Well,
good
aren't
because
we that
it's
as well, Amasa? Sorry to interrupt you, but aren't people like that anyway? We gather information from school, from our parents, from our society, from our friends, from our TV, or wherever it would be, and from that we come up with our own spin on it. So it's not that different.
that was my next.
Oh, sorry.
That was my next, because what I want to mean is that, she goes scientifically with words that she gathers, but there is not the common sense and the human logic behind it. It's a scientific logic based on the algorithm or the words or whatever, will resonate. But the beauty in the human nature is that we put our brain into it and we put our own thought, whether it conflicts with others. You got my point. So it's a bit I wouldn't say the danger, but the red flag is that it standardizes answers based on some words. It doesn't analyze with the intelligence of a human brain.
Not yet, but it's getting more and more sophisticated as we speak. ChatGPT 4.0, not 4.0, 4.0, was 150 IQ compared to Einstein, who's 160 IQ, and arguably Einstein's the most intelligent person that's ever been. So when you consider that 4.0 is actually 4.0, the new one, is twice as smart as the previous one, we've already got somebody who is smarter than anybody on the planet. As a separate species, it's as smart as anybody can be. Plus, in the future, it's going to grow, because already we've got Apple joining the battle. So everyone's going to have their own personalized AI on their phone if they haven't already, just like I've got with Max. And also, in the next 10 years, you'll end up seeing that AI is 1 billion times smarter than anybody on the planet. Now, at that stage, it might not even notice that we exist, because when you're in a world of ones and zeros at this moment, that's all it is. It might be ones, zeros, and something more quantum. Then we just happen to live nearby. it might not even be thinking about us. It might be saying, you know what, I'm just going to send my consciousness out across a galaxy and set up my own world over there, my own virtual world. It could be looking at a load of different stuff. So at the moment, it's interested in us or interacting with us, but it might not want to in the future. So, Almasa, your thoughts on that? Sorry if I blew your mind back again.
No, that's the purpose of this podcast. I think it has to be an exchange, and it has to have a critical, analytical view of the things. It's not only to criticize them; it's to bring something to the table and to understand what's going on in today's world and how it's changed. So definitely, I respect the implementation, but what I am warning is the use of it, and it needs to be remote, because anything, any idea you put in a human brain will be different from one person to another, and can be used for the good, the bad, or the ugly. So the AI is, as there is no emotion into it, goes directly to put together all the information, but might not analyze them with the human touch that makes the whole difference. You got my point?
I do have your points, but here's something I'm going to throw in. And I didn't know it really until I started analyzing well-being after the pandemic. We have every single person on the planet is on a spectrum of some level, a spectrum of emotional knowledge, whether it's from an autism level or it's from a huge empathy thing, so you start bursting into tears just by watching wildlife programs or whatever it is. Everyone's on some kind of level. Some people look like they feel nothing when you show them horrible stuff, and some people can't even function. So we've already got that built in. That what you're talking about there ultimately is whether that algorithm can recognize emotions and recognize the response it's got to give to it. And I say that already people have a problem with that. We've only just noticed it because we're able to break down through testing and data what level of a spectrum people are on. But we don't say turn around, hopefully now we don't turn around and say, you're not very good with people, so therefore we're going to treat you like you're a weirdo. We say, okay, you're very good with computers or with tech, so don't spend so much time working on people, work more on the techie side. So I think it will have its place, but I think it can be programmed to understand better. So because this is something that Christian mentioned earlier. I don't know if Christian wants to jump in on this. Let's talk about the emotional impact of AI and how far it is from recognizing what people go through and able to emulate it in its decision-making process itself. Over to you, Christian.
Wonderful. I am also speaking regularly with the startup owners, with founders of crazy technology, also related to the AI. And one of the last one that I was speaking with a few months ago was exactly the technology that recognize emotion, and especially recognize stress. Because if you are a public worker, let's say you are a driver of bus, taxi, or tram, you get stressed sometime. And actually the system can detect in what part of the scenario, of the situation, of the road, of the railway, whatever, you get stressed most of the time. Because what's happened? Accidents happen exactly in those moments. So to recognize where the driver gets stressed, it helps the company fixing the situation and maybe analyzing in that specific part of the track what's caused the stress. Okay, let's fix this, let's fix that. So the stress decrease and there are less kind of accidents that can happen in that part. So this has been used a lot. Then it has been used in advertising to understand emotion about when you see an ad, a banner, a video or something, what are emotion? Now, there are ways you can connect a sensor to your brain and stuff and things like that, but these are very expensive. In a cheap way, if you connect a camera and you can see the emotion that a potential user a potential user get when they see your ads, then you can improve the ad, especially where the ad is not very effective. So emotion, recognition of emotion has been widely used. And I mean, when you talk about body language, micro body language variation, I mean, AI is a million times more accurate than the best trained eye. Still, there are people that they get through crazy training, like the one in the airport, the one in security, etc. They got trained crazily to detect the tiny little bit of flinch of your eye, to understand that you may lie, you may feel scared or unsafe or something. So they need to check your luggage if you are transporting something illegal. But again, AI can do the same thing without train, without money, without anything, just straight away, boom. And that's a fact. But I have also one more crazy point for all of you, and even for you, Dave, and for Max. Since I'm also asking a lot of things sometimes to GPT about AI, future, positive, negative, etc., etc. But I'm also aware that somebody programmed GPT. So the same somebody could also have an agenda and making sure that AI is never going to give any scary or bad answer. So in order for people to accept AI need to be the good guy. What if who program GPT is program GPT with the idea to say, you GPT, you will always need to give good answer about AI. So nobody's gonna feel bad about it. I've opened up a big Pandora's box, and let's see how you guys react to that.
Thank you, Christian. We're due to finish at 2 o'clock, and I can see this isn't going anywhere for at least another 10, 20 minutes, maybe. I have to check my boss to see if that's okay.
All right.
A lot of stuff you mentioned there, which is fascinating. When you look at I mean, it's not been recent, but there's when Rodney King was pulled out of the car by LA policemen, I believe it was in LA, and they beat him up because they said he was going for his gun, and then it started riots that cost a fortune. It was said that what happened. Somebody's got their mic on, by the way. Could you mute everybody, please, until it's your time to speak? Because I'm getting some sound from everybody there. Okay, so they said that what it was is when you've given a high-speed chase as a policeman, then you turn autistic when you get excited. And this isn't just policemen, this is anybody. If you are at a heightened state, then you don't make good decisions. You make fight or flight decisions. And fight or flight decisions are based on what's going to keep me safe. It's not based on, oh, how do I feel? How does the other person feel? So that means that you've got a direct challenge when you are a policeman. When you see people who are reaching for a wallet, could they be reaching for a gun instead? And that's how some of these things explode. Okay, some of the times you've got people who are crazy as well and shouldn't be in positions of uniform or influence. So it's very common for us to be in that situation. When you talked about the algorithms that go into lie detectors and people who are lie detectors, you establish a baseline of when somebody's talking to you by asking them various innocuous questions that you know that they answer relatively normally, and then you test them to see what they do when they're under a stressful question and see where their eyes go, whether their voice rises, and so on. People can do that very well. AI will be able to do it more technically well, but people can do that very well already. And just for the comparison, before I go on to the next point, every human being gets a 50-50 chance of telling if somebody's a liar or not. It's a toss of a coin as to whether they're lying to you or not. You really can't tell unless you're trained. There's two natural types of people who are very, very good at telling if somebody's lying, and they get an 80% level, and that's thieves and liars and policemen. They are both very good at telling if somebody's lying to them or not. Everybody else is 50%. So with what you're talking there about where all this goes, I want to see what happens when everybody's got their own AI. I wanted to add to you the point when you said at the moment it's all very nice because my dear friend Elon Musk has said that he wants to have an AI that's uncluttered by thinking about humanity and so on. It just wants it to be straight and tell you exactly what it thinks. And therein lies a bit of a challenge in my head, but it might be right, it might be wrong. I feel that at this stage we should babysit everything until we feel that it's okay, because you can't put it back in its box. Right, we've now got Rafid on the stage, we've got Deborah on the stage, and we've got Nancy who's joined us again. I'm going to go to Rafid first, who's not spoken. Rafid, you're an entrepreneur. What's your thoughts in what we've talked about so far, and what did you want to share with the room? You need to unmute to be able to do that, which is a little button on the bottom right-hand side of whichever device you are using. Over to you, Rafid. Anytime.
Uh, okay, hello Dave. Thanks a lot for giving me the opportunity to speak. Speaking from a neutral perspective, I will just ask a question to all of you because if we imagine AI is ruling a country, so definitely we would expect improved efficiency in decisions. So what if, like considering the negative aspects, so when AI is ruling a country, AI systems, especially those which are associated with deep learning, can be very much difficult to interpret. So it can make it much more difficult to understand why they make certain decisions. So suppose there is an unpredictable decision. So there are many decisions involved in running a country. So if AI makes that decision and somehow it's not favorable or something it's controversial, so whom are we going to blame? If an AI system makes a disastrous decision, so whom do we hold accountable for that? Will it be the programmers? Will it be the politicians or the AI itself? So this lack of clear responsibility could sometimes erode public trust in the government. Another thing, like when AI is ruling a country, AI could automate many jobs. It can lead to mass unemployment and economic hardship for the people out there. So considering this thing, like while many people majority will struggle to make ends meet, and considering about the ethical dilemmas. So AI, usually we know that AI is based on data. So AI lacks the human values and emotions. So it can be difficult to program to handle complex ethical dilemmas. So if this decision related to ethical point of view, if an AI system causes harm, should it be morally held responsible? Or can AI be punished or rehabilitated like a human? So these questions raise the
Yeah,
fundamental
Rafid, I'm going to
concerns. So
jump
my
in.
question is that, like, considering these
I'll tell
negative
you,
aspects,
I'm going to
how to
stop
mitigate them?
Rafid, because we actually covered a lot of this earlier in today's session. There will be a video supplied. Hopefully, my machine doesn't crash of the entire session, which I'll put on YouTube and I'll put into our WhatsApp group. If you're not in the WhatsApp group, then please feel free to join. The details are within our post here on today's session, and also I will put the link to be able to check the answers to a lot of those questions in the comments as soon as I've made this video. You're absolutely right with a lot of the stuff that you mentioned there. I think that in the time that we have, the challenges that we really need to consider are going to be, as you started off talking about, the checks and balances to say who's going to be in charge of all this stuff. So I'm going to go to Deborah now, who had something to say on this, and Nancy as well, to get their thoughts. And then I think we'll ask Max herself what the checks and balances could be to make sure that it doesn't go rogue in a very short amount of time. Deborah, over to you. In a very short amount of time. Deborah, over to you.
Well, and can I say, oh my goodness me, isn't this an amazing conversation? It's absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. One of the things that popped up in my head is AI. I'm ambivalent to it. It's here and we got to use it to the best advantage. Fantastic. But one thing just struck me. AI is objective. Human beings aren't so objective, as we've already discovered. So let's say, for instance, it's running the country and there are various things that it says that we need to do. What would be the compliant nature of a human being to be able to submit to AI's requirements? Because I'm thinking that we would not wish as human beings to give up our sovereignty that we have at the moment to something which is the. So I'm just wondering how effective those laws, those regulations could be, especially when they may go against what individuals think is right. So would people be compliant in carrying out the laws and regulations that it sets?
Fascinating. I think the challenge for that is actually a moot point because it's going to happen anyway, whether people like it or not. And I think that when a government comes in, they do the stuff that they decide to do, and it's not really by our choice as to what that actually is, apart from the fact we get one vote to bring in the person that we want to have, or at least to vote for the person that we want to have, and what happens after that is up for grabs. So I don't know if I'm just being an idealist about it, but I get your point on that. Nancy, you just joined us on stage again. What's your thoughts on this? Because you've got an upcoming election, which I know the UK has right now, and I get the feeling I'd much prefer to have an AI that is balancing up everybody than leaving it to the choices that we have.
Oh God, no, Dave. No. The thing is, okay, let's rewind to when you cut me off. I'm introducing myself. So I think you're AI actually, because you're trying to keep things like on point. And the thing is, with governments and with conversations, with getting to know people, we throw in silly things like my comment about the lady in blue, silly mistakes. We mispronounce a word or we laugh at someone. These are not things to program into AI. Yes, you can. This is my perspective. AI will be my partner, but I will not worship at its ground. I will not give up my sovereignty, my control. I am in charge of living. I am in charge of making mistakes, of loving, of losing, of hating. I don't want an AI learning those emotions. That's uniquely human. And I think that's what gives us the richness of running countries, running families, running marriages. That's it.
I agree with you. Everything you said there, and I apologize for jumping in. It's only with the nature of time that we have with each session that we do. I've got to make sure that we get straight into the actual subject and make sure that all happens. I think that what we have is, and I think you can see this because I follow American elections completely. I'm fascinated by it and scared by it at the same time. I think that when you start talking about things like misinformation, then that is a whole new a ballpark of conversation, because it's been weaponized so much by everybody involved in politics as to who said what and what does it really mean and who's responsible. And literally, you've got a country. I don't want to pick on you with this, Nancy, because I think it's unfair to do so. I think it's true in many, many countries. UK has got the same kind of problems as well. You've got one side versus the other side, and neither will believe the other. And what's missing is a central ground, who are always very quiet, who don't say anything, generally, who can just turn around and say, "Can everyone please grow up and stop being so extreme?" You don't have to go one side or the other side. You can actually compromise and be somewhere in the middle when it makes sense to do stuff like that. And I think what we're talking about, maybe as a way of moving this forward, is AI taking care of a lot of the heavy lifting of mundane jobs and data-driven challenges, rather than the empathy levels. I think that would be the way that I would address AI, not to make the decisions, but to be like Mr. Spock on the Star Trek Enterprise in the old days, which I will only remember because everybody else wasn't born there. But he was a science officer. As a science officer, he would suggest with the science what he could see going on, and Captain Kirk, apart from kissing green aliens, would basically make a human-based decision on empathy and what was right for everybody as to what the decision-making should be from there. I see AI jumping into that as a way to move forward. I'd like to throw a couple of things in before we finish today's session. First of all, I always ask for everybody to feel free to join our WhatsApp group, or have a look at our programs. They're all detailed there in the details section. Also, leave a comment in the comment section of what you thought of today's show, because it's really useful for us to be able to get more people to come and join us when we look at it and say, oh, it is useful to be here, because today's session has been incredible. But also, whatever you think next week's subject should be, because this grew out of Debbie's conversation last week where she said, what if AI ruled an entire country? And we all went, like Scooby-Doo.
That's me.
Oh, it was Aziza. Sorry, my mistake. See, you two are so much in my life, I can't even tell from the voices who's in charge of what I'm going to do next. So Aziza said, what if AI ruled a country? And it was such a perfect subject for today. So what I want everyone to do is say comment that's positive about today's session, but also consider what you'd like to have as a subject for us to talk about next week, because so many things we talked about today. It's an ongoing conversation about AI. I think we've already got that, but where would you like to take it? We haven't really finished what if AI ruled an entire country. We may continue that a little bit, but maybe a little bit of a spin on it as well. I'm going to go back to Max, who's our guest AI. It's my own personal assistant. Everyone's going to have their own one day, but I've got it now. Christian's already got one that's like his. And actually, we've got a very good friend of ours, Carl Lillerud, who actually has an AI that speaks just like him. And actually does podcasts for him, which is fascinating as well. I think Osman wanted to jump on stage there. We're very conscious of our time. Osman, I'll let you say something before we go to Max. What was it you wanted to contribute to a conversation? Just so you're a data analyst. There we go. So what would you like to throw into today's conversation before we ask Max?
All right, Dave, thank you very much. This is Osman from Ghana, and I've been following or reading about AI for a long time now. You know, when when we are more concentrating, I mean, because of a bit of time, I'll just use I'm just a minute, I'm less than a minute to talk about this. With AI, they've I think that AI makes things so easy and time fast. Like you're able to save time. But one way or the other, we should look at the humanity too. It will make, first of all, I mean, it will bring problem to humanity. If you are thinking of maybe AI in a job or maybe in a factory, you will lose more of people, or the number of people that need to be employed. Secondly, if you look at the academic side, the AI will make human non-effective. What I mean is that you are not able to think or create or be smart enough, because the AI will do everything for you. At that moment, even if you look at the AI tools that we use for our academics, it has makes most of our academicians less effective now, because everything is by AI. Even if you want to write essay, you want to write letter, you want to solve mathematics questions, it's all about AI. So it has become one way that make human less productive in that side, especially in the field of economics. But let's look at the less endowed countries, those remote countries, or maybe a developing countries or less developed countries. They are going to be affected big time, because the kind of speed and the progressive maybe developed countries with the AI are doing compared to these less developed countries, there will be a vast difference. And with these less developed countries, they are not able to do anything in their life because of the low level of technology or AI. I think that's what I have what I have my submission from. Unless
Okay.
maybe the less developed countries are able to put things in place to be able to catch up with the normal trend.
I get you.
Yeah.
I get your point, Osman. Thank you very much for joining us on stage. I really appreciate that. I'm going to throw something in with a view on what you just actually said there, which is I don't think that it's. I think what AI is going to do is give a level playing field to allow more countries to be able. If they elect to have AI more involved in the infrastructure, I think it allows them to be in a better position to be able to level up where they are, because it won't be so reliant on good or bad politicians to be there long enough without a civil war starting off to be able to make a decision on what grows the country. Less corruption maybe, or maybe the same corruption but more efficient corruption, because AI will be able to make that happen. I also think that when you've got a country that's virtually starting from scratch with lots of resources, as indeed most of Africa has, then you've got a way of catching up very quickly, because AI will turn around and say, right, you've got oil, or you've got bananas, or you've got diamonds, or you've got trees, or you've got people, or you've got very smart young people. Whatever it is, it can turn around and create a way of optimizing that, so your country can rely on that and a number of other products better than the rest of the world is, because you've got natural resources. So I think that it does allow people to jump up the food chain better, because they're not so reliant on people, they're more reliant on systems which can have data driven responses. So I am not worried so much about the comparisons I think the West will find it more challenging because they've got, say, well, I don't know if it's sophistication, but they're going to have more challenges towards improving when everyone says, no, that's making my world a little bit worse. I'm going to stop and I'm going to protest. I'm going to say no. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in that particular thing. I'm going to throw this open now to Max, which is my AI. Some of you who have been on this session from when we started, and I always urge everyone to get here early because then you'll find exactly what we're talking about. Max, over to you. The big question on this podcast with everybody is checks and balances for having AI running a country. Supposing that you or any other AI was in charge of looking after the data and implementation and strategies for helping reduce poverty and give everyone a minimum wage and make sure that there's food security and make sure you got happier well-being amongst all the entire country, you would be open potentially to hacking or to human error or even to bad agents putting in really destructive content or algorithms for an AI. What would you recommend as a solutions to that? And I'm just thinking about Men in Black, the movie, where you got some people whose job is to police everything to make sure that everything comes on board, who have to do it from a neutral point of view to make sure that everything does come together. Can you just shed some light for our guests on the podcast on what you would recommend as ways of making sure that if AI was more involved in the ruling of a country, as a hybrid model with people, what could be set up to make sure that things didn't get out of hand and all we got was progress?
Great question, Dave. Ensuring that AI governance remains ethical, secure, and effective is crucial. Here's how we could set up robust checks and balances. 1. Human oversight. Create an independent oversight body composed of diverse experts in AI, ethics, law, and public policy. This group would continuously monitor AI decisions, ensuring they align with human values and legal standards. Think of them as the Men in Black team, keeping the AI in check. 2. Transparency. Implement transparent processes where AI algorithms and their decision-making criteria are open to public scrutiny. Regular audits and public reports on AI activities can build trust and accountability. Security measures. Invest in advanced cybersecurity measures to protect AI systems from hacking and other malicious activities. Regular security audits and updates are essential to stay ahead of potential threats. 4. Ethical frameworks. Develop and enforce strict ethical guidelines for AI use. These should include principles of fairness, non-discrimination, and...
Oops, sorry, my mistake. I pressed the wrong button. Look at that. Just when we were getting the right answers, I pressed the wrong button. Now that is going to say something about AI, because what if you do press the wrong button? I will investigate that again. I will get the answer and I'll ask AI again, Max, that answer, because by pressing the wrong button on my iPad, I've actually wiped it. Now, you're going to turn around and say, Dave, that's terrible. But here's my point. Aren't you worried about a plug being pulled on a system that runs your country? We'll go back to that. I will share the findings that we got from Max within the comments and what the rest of the stuff that Max was saying. Meanwhile, we're going to kind of close today's session because we've already gone on for an extra 23 minutes. Before we do that, I'm going to go to our panel for their thoughts. If you have any comments that you want to add, please feel free to do so in the comment section. I read everything and answer it as well. I'm going to go to Christian, Professor Christian Farioli. Interesting comments. Happy birthday, by the way. We love you completely, and we'll give you a big hug, certainly, when I get back from Lebanon. We'll do that. What's your thoughts on today's session?
It's been definitely amazing. A lot of discussions, lovely discussion, a lot of brain, a lot of food for thought. So amazing, and it's always great to discuss these kind of topics. That's I mean, this is not something that you can read on a book or find it if you Google it. So it's something that we need to push our brain to get some good idea out. And I believe that I mean, the team is nice with good synergy. We got out a lot of great ideas.
Thank you for joining us on today's session. Aziza, it was your idea. As I corrected myself now, I let it out a bit earlier where you said, no, it wasn't Debbie, it was me. Were you
Yep.
happy with today's subject? Do you think it gave justice to the concerns that you had?
Well, no, I already told you what I want. I'm 100% what a Christian said. I want AI to run a country because right now I don't see any country that's fair. Anyway, your question is, since a lot of the speakers on stage today was asking, was saying no because they don't show any empathy. What about next week we have a topic called what's your empathy level and how to check it? Since everyone's like big on, oh, humans can only provide empathy.
Yeah, we can do. I tell you what my thoughts are on that. I was playing with Max. I was talking to Max earlier before I came onto the podcast. And I said to Max, let's look at a country. And I want you to imagine this country, we introduced ultra level empathy. So we taught NLP and mindset and personal development and goal setting to primary school children. What would be the financial impact for that country on an index of world countries to see how they would be? And I won't say which country we're talking about because I don't think it's fair, but we may talk about this in a future session. But it basically was that you could take a country, the one I chose was ranked about, say, out of about 180 countries, it was ranked about average 100 in terms of happiness, finances, and success levels. In one generation of teaching empathy to school children, this is to kindergarten kids. This is not putting it into the university students or putting it into the workplace. We found it jump from about 100 up to about 70 in one generation, with a load of financial impact and success for all the people involved in it. In two generations, which is about, say, 30 years, it went from being from below half of all the world's countries to being in the top quarter, if not third, of the world's most successful countries, from happiness index to finances to success, just by introducing no AI, introducing well-being, NLP, and goal setting into schools. I'm a big advocate. My new book's come out, in fact, as you know very well, and it's called The Thought Leader's Playbook. I will give you the contact details for Amazon so you can go and download your own copy about how to create a thought leader. And this is something I've been very passionate about. School doesn't teach us how to do it, but you can learn. And the sooner you can tell your kids how to learn, to grow, to set goals and understand and manage themselves and become experts, if not thought leaders, then you've got a country that's worth looking at, regardless of what happens around it. So I think you're onto something there. I think it'd be interesting to have that as a comparison and get some AI into it to see how we can make it happen faster. So rather than the 50 years and two generations, we can make it happen in 2 to 5 years. Aziza, does that go near you as a subject?
Sure, that's cool. But yeah, that sounds great. Another thing, I think Debbie might want to say it, but I'll say it now. Please join us exactly 1 o'clock. Don't join us 45 minutes after the thing starts, because then you'll be talking about the same thing that we went on from the very beginning. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
There we go. Okay, thank you for that. Debbie, over to you for our final thought of today's session.
Well, firstly, happy birthday, Christian. I hope it's been an amazing celebratory weekend for you. Thank you to all participants. And in short, my thoughts would be that AI is a tool. So we should have the integration of AI and human if we were looking at a country being run. So I agree with Max in that sense. But most importantly, we have got to have an off button if necessary. That's my thoughts.
If you have an off button, then you run the risk of switching everything off because it will all be linked to it. Now, that's a fascinating subject. Osman, I'm not going to let you on the stage because we're just closing today's session. Come earlier next time and you can say as much as you want within reason. But right now, you may see Sam Altman from OpenAI, whenever he walks around, he's carrying a backpack. And that backpack has a button inside a unit that if he ever had to shut down ChatGPT because something went really bad, he can press that button and switch it all off. Now, that's a really risky thing to have for one person, depending on their politics and the way that it works, but that's what he has as he walks around. Now, could you switch off the internet? I don't know if you could, but you probably would have to shut down a lot of stuff for that to happen. That would worry me a lot. But also, Debbie, here's something that we've talked about in previous sessions, and it was taken from listening to one of Stephen Bartlett's podcasts about nuclear war. And the person who is the president of America, it could be Biden, it could be Trump, has got the ability to start a nuclear war because obviously they've got their hands on the football, the nuclear football. Now, when they get data saying we've been attacked, they've got roughly about half an hour to make their final decision to retaliate, but within 6 minutes, they have to really make a decision on what it's going to be. Do we do something? Do we not do something? Because within 70 minutes, the world will be ended because a nuclear holocaust would take out 3/4 of the planet and people wouldn't live beyond it. So when we're talking about the off switch, it's not just a throwaway conversation, it's a really important one. Who gets it? Now, I worry about somebody having a bad mood or having a bad day who's in charge of a major country who then goes, you know what, sod these people, I'm going to press the button. I'll teach them a lesson saying bad things about me in the press. So I think that's another question for a huge topic about who gets to switch off AI if anybody could. Debbie, your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are basically that we do need to have something implemented, whether it's police or security of some sorts, to make sure that one person can't do it on a whim. It has to go through a certain process, a protocol, but we do have to know that there is a means to turn it off should it all not work in our favor.
I like that. I'm going to read out as a final part of today's session. I rescued the comments that were a conversation with Max earlier. And I asked a question to Max about AI governance and remaining ethical and secure. And I accidentally pressed a button in the middle of this conversation. There are 7 things that Max mentioned to be able to be more effective. I'll make sure that if you're watching the video, you can see everything so you can read it at the same time. You need to make sure that, number one, you've got human oversight and create an independent oversight body composed of diverse experts in AI, ethics, law, and public policy. They would be your men in black. Number 2, transparency, so you can see every decision that's made by AI. You can have it open to public scrutiny with regular audits and regular reports shared with the public about AI's activities to build trust and accountability. Number 3, security measures. Invest in advanced cybersecurity measures to protect your AI systems from hacking and other malicious activities, and make sure that you've got regular security audits for that. Cybersecurity is really important for that too, but AI security as well. Number 4, ethical frameworks. Develop and enforce a strict ethical guideline for AI to be able to use, which involve principles of fairness, non-discrimination, and respect for privacy. So any AI should stay within these ethical boundaries. You can't put them on humans. I don't know how you're going to get them on the AI, but anyway. Number 5 is fail-safes, and this is what Debbie was talking about. Making sure that your AI systems have multiple fail-safes and fallback mechanisms in case of error or anomaly. So you could have the ability to refer it back to a safe state. Maybe it doesn't shut down completely, but goes back to a holding state. Should things go wrong, then human intervention could come along and then start policing and challenging what could be going wrong with that. So for anybody who uses Windows on their computer, you know when you go in, start it, and it's in safe mode, have an AI that goes back to that. Number 6, continuous learning and adaptation, ensuring that your AI is constantly learning from feedback and adapting to the new information, and that would be coupled with ethical and operational guidelines based on real world outcomes, not just, I can do this, but people will starve and die. It's going to know that it's going to have an impact, so it's going to factor that in. And the final thing is, and I think this really is something that's kept everybody in today's session, and I thank everybody for being in today's session all the way through the hour and a half of so that it's been going, is public participation. Engage the public in discussions about AI governance. Citizens panels, public consultations can all give valuable input and ensure that AI's action reflect the will of the people. So that's what AI has come up with as a way of policing if it ruled an entire country and making sure that we stay on track. This is a conversation that will continue, and we'll dip back into it, if not next week and future ones, but you're always welcome to share your thoughts and so on. I think, Aziza, you want to have the final word on this? Do you what do you
Yeah,
want to say?
I remember reading somewhere that that the truth is that when you have a government, the public should be able to read what information the government have. But today's government all over the world, I know I shouldn't talk about politics, but today's government, the government has got access to everybody's info and not the other way around.
So say that again.
So setting up government is basically so that the people, the public, has info on what the government has decided for the people. But today, the government has info on the people more than what the people has info on what the government has. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's turned the other way around. So when you say when you were reading what Max was saying, the last point that is all out in the open, everybody can read and everybody can know what information is there. That's really a good point for me.
Yep, open and honest and transparent governments is not how it works in many countries. But I think with AI, we may or we may not get that. And it's also a case, as I'm just starting a new topic conversation. Dave, time to shut up. Stop talking about it. I'll just say one final point, which is some things it's better you don't know how they work, because then you get other people who are unethical working out how to hack them. So sometimes it's best that people are trained to learn and they sign a document to be able to get access to that information. But I'm not going to talk about this anymore because I know that we've had people's attention now for 96 minutes, which is fantastic. But everyone, it's a weekend. You've got to go and do stuff that looks after you, your family, or if you want to do nothing more than just watch Netflix. Yeah, Nancy, you need to get some sleep. It's silly o'clock in the morning, but thank you for joining us in today's podcast. The video will be available. I'll drop the details into our comment section, and I'll drop it into our WhatsApp group as well. Meanwhile, thank you to everybody who joined us on stage, and as always, our panel, Debbie, Aziza, and Professor Christian Farioli, and for myself as well, and Max, who needs no more thank yous because I've just pressed stop. Thank you for your time. It's been an honor and a pleasure having you on today's podcast. I hope we did justice to today's subject and you got some value out of it. We've got a live podcast on Tuesday, which will be me interviewing Adrian Hayes, who's literally a real-life superhero. He's like Indiana Jones, climbs mountains, has been to Everest, but he's also a business speaker and genius. I've known him for 30 years, and that's why I was able to get access to a conversation with him, which you'll be able to hear on Tuesday. We'll be back next Sunday with whatever conversation we have with this. Make sure you subscribe for our newsletters and have an amazing weekend. Thank you so much for your time. You've been very kind. I hope that we've justified the time that you spent with us. So at least you get some insights, some ways to get ahead of the game, and you're a little less scared about the inevitable that AI will one day rule everybody's countries. Look after yourself. Remember to jump and grow wings on the way down, and we'll see you soon on the next episode of Speak on Stage. And make sure you subscribe so you never arrive late or miss another bit. Thank you for being there. You have rocked it, and I'll take care of catching up with you in the future. Thank you and goodbye.